Mitt Romney was among the earliest candidates to begin laying the groundwork for the 2012 presidential campaign, and he enjoyed frontrunner status until the Texas governor, Rick Perry, jumped in last month. The former Massachusetts governor is joining us now live from Los Angeles. Governor, thanks very much for coming in.
Thanks, Wolf. Good to be with you.
Good to have you back here in the Situation Room. Let's start with issue number one, the economy, jobs, as we like to say. President Obama's jobs bill. He wants to create jobs in part by investing lots of money in infrastructure development. Are you with him on that?
Well, infrastructure enhancement in this country is a positive way to long-term improve the job prospects in America. But look, a stimulus approach has not worked. The idea of item by item looking for a quick solution, of throwing a little gasoline on the fire, that hasn't worked. The first stimulus of almost $800 billion didn't create private sector jobs. This stimulus won't work. It's not going to get passed. The president needs to put all aside these stimulus plans and instead work to restructure the foundation of America's economy to make America the most attractive place to invest long term, not just over the next 6 weeks, but over the next 60 years.
Because 4 years ago, we did some checking on infrastructure, and I'm going to play a clip of what you said back on January 30th, 2008, during one of those CNN Republican debates on the issue of infrastructure and jobs.
There's no question but that investment in infrastructure makes enormous sense for our country. It's good for business, it's good for the economy, and as the governor that watched the completion, well, almost the completion of the Big Dig. I think that was, I don't know how many governors watched that $15 billion project. They do create a lot of good jobs, and they help our economy, the great things.
All right, so what's the difference between what you have in mind and what the president has in mind when he talks a lot about infrastructure and jobs?
Well, I said the same thing a moment ago, which is that infrastructure is good for jobs and for the foundation of our economy. But it's not a short-term, quick fix, put in a few $1 million or a few $1 billion. This is the kind of project that's going to have to be part of a very comprehensive effort to restructure our infrastructure in America, and that's going to require a new financing setting. We're going to have to look and see whether we're going to use toll roads or public-private partnerships. We have thousands and thousands of structurally deficient bridges. We have roads that are in terrible disrepair. We have choke points across the country that are affecting commerce. An infrastructure plan is going to be needed. But to suggest that spending a few tens of billions of dollars as a stimulus plan is going to somehow get America back to work is just silly. That's just not the case. The president needs to sit down and look at a major rehaul of our entire economic foundation. And I don't think he has it within him. I mean, I think he's gone from stimulus to stimulus. What we really have to do is to restructure our corporate tax rates, our regulatory structure, our energy policies, our trade policies, our labor policies, and he's got all those wrong.
The Republican, let's call him the frontrunner, Rick Perry, at least according to a lot of the polls, he just spoke to our sister publication, Time Magazine, and he made this statement. I'm going to play it for you, and then we'll discuss. Listen to Rick Perry.
I still believe they are socialist. I mean, their policies prove that almost daily. I mean, when all the answers emanate from Washington, D.C., one size fits all, whether it's education policy or whether it's health care policy, that is, on its face, socialism.
He's talking about the Obama administration's policies. You agree with him?
Well, you know, words have a lot of unintended meanings, and calling people socialists probably goes beyond the fact that it is true that President Obama's team and the president himself seem to believe that government has a better approach to our economy than does the private sector, and I disagree with that approach. I believe that we have to have a government that is a partner, that is encouraging the private sector, encouraging freedom, encouraging free people. What they've done instead is add regulation, add taxation, add burdens to the free enterprise system, which does tend to make us more European. And Europe isn't working in Europe. Europe is not going to work here in this country. So I don't use the word socialist, or I haven't so far, but I do agree that the president's approach is government heavy, government intensive, and it's not working.
You would use the word more European than socialist? Is that what you're saying?
I just say government heavy, Washington heavy, a nation which is free and dependent upon free enterprise as ours is, doesn't need Washington telling businesses how they can do every aspect of their business, how people can get their education, how they can get their health care. Look, government is playing too heavy-handed a role in America today, and people want to see the government pulled back as it should be and allow free American people to pursue their own path in life rather than having the government dictate that for them.
I know you stand by the health care reform you got enacted when you were the governor of Massachusetts, and you differentiate between what you did in Massachusetts as opposed to what President Obama did on a national scale. But some other news organizations have done some research, and I'll give you a chance to respond to this. They've taken a look at your book, the book entitled No Apology, the hardcover version. In that book, you wrote this. You wrote, "It's portable, affordable health insurance, something people have been talking about for decades," referring to your plan. "We can accomplish the same thing for everyone in the country, and it can be done without letting the government take over health care." Now, in the paperback, more recent version, it was changed to say it's portable, affordable health insurance, something people have been talking about for decades, and it was done without government taking over health care. The line, "We can accomplish the same thing for everyone in the country," was taken out. Explain why.
You know, Wolf, we updated the book because it came out almost a year after the first book, and of course the president's plan was then put in place. I was asked when we put our plan together by Dan Balls of the Washington Post, is the plan in Massachusetts something that if you were president, you'd have the entire country adopt? And I said no. I said that very clearly. I've said it throughout the campaign in 2008. The Massachusetts plan was crafted for Massachusetts for the needs of 8% of our population that didn't have insurance, not for the 92% that did. Obamacare is a plan that takes over 100% of the people in this country and their health care, and that's one of the reasons why people don't want it. So our plan was a model for other states to copy. Some states have copied parts of it. Others say no way, they'll do something else. That's their right. But it is not a plan to have a one-size-fits-all approach. I said that from the very beginning, continue to say it. By the way, it works pretty well in Massachusetts, but there's some flaws in it. I'd like to see them changed.
You remember that exchange I had at the debate with Ron Paul when I asked him about that hypothetical 30-year-old who's got a good job, is healthy, makes a good living, but decides he doesn't want to buy health insurance. He wants to do something else with that money, but he gets into some sort of accident, needs life support for 6 months, costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. What do you do with who pays for that kind of care? You heard the exchange I had with Ron Paul, but what do you say?
Well, as you know, what I say is that states have a responsibility for caring for their own poor. This should not be a federal responsibility. And there are two ways that states have traditionally done that. One is to give out free care at the hospitals, and that gets paid for either by other insured individuals or by taxpayers. In my state, it was paid for by taxpayers. Or you can have inferior care given to people, in which case their lives or their health may be in jeopardy. We said, look, we're going to insist on people taking personal responsibility. We're not going to have people dying or have their health care in jeopardy. We're going to come up with a system that gives people the care they need. And if they can afford their own care, we're going to insist they pay for it as opposed to looking to government. Now, other people have come up with other ideas. I'd like to see those ideas in different states. But, you know, in Massachusetts now, about 98% of our people have insurance, and I'm proud of the fact that we're seeing better health outcomes as a result.
Were you taken aback like so many other people were when some in that audience, Tea Party supporters, when I said, would you just let that young man die? When some of them screamed out, yes. Were you taken aback by that response from some in the audience?
I sure was. I was very disappointed by that response. Look, we're a people that care very deeply for one another. We respect the sanctity of human life, whether an unborn life or someone in the middle of their life or at the end of their life. And I tried very hard as the governor of my state to come up with a plan that would care for people in our state in a thoughtful and compassionate way. You know, in our state, less than 1% of our children don't have health insurance. Over 99% of our kids have health insurance. There are other states where the uninsured kids are as high as 20%. You know, I look to find a solution to problems and to try and help our people, and I think that's the role of those that have responsibility. And incidentally, there may be better ways to do it than I came up with. And as Ross Perot used to say, I'm all ears. I'm happy to see what other people come up with, and if they come up with something better than we did, I'm happy to have states be able to adopt that. But a federal takeover With the federal government telling states how to do it, that's a mistake, and that's one reason I'd repeal Obamacare.
All right, we have a lot more to talk about, Governor. Please stand by for a moment. We're going to continue this conversation, including some lessons learned from 4 years ago that you're applying now. We have some national security issues we want to discuss as well. Stand by, more of my interview with Mitt Romney when we come back.